"Find a job, Emma, or we're putting you in a nursing home." My son-in-law stood in my doorway with eviction papers. I was 68 years old, a widow, living in the guest house my daughter had promised I'd never lose. But she stood silent behind him, didn't say a word, didn't defend me, didn't even meet my eyes. So I left. 6 months later, they knocked on my office door, broke, desperate, begging. I looked at them and smiled. Now you need me. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories travel. My name is Emma Harrison. I'm 68 years old, and this is my story. 2 years earlier, my husband James died on a Tuesday morning. Heart attack. He was 71, healthy one day, gone the next. We'd been married for 43 years. The funeral was on Friday. By Monday, I realized I couldn't afford our house. James had been the breadwinner. I'd worked in marketing for 40 years before retiring at 60, but my pension was modest. James's pension had covered most of our expenses. Now, with just my income, the mortgage payment was impossible. I sat at our kitchen table with bills spread everywhere, doing math that wouldn't work no matter how many times I tried. I was going to lose our house. The house where we'd raised Sarah. Where James had built a deck with his own hands. Where we'd planned to grow old together. I called Sarah. "Honey, I need to talk to you about something." She came over that evening with her husband, Derek. Derek Williams was 42. He was a real estate developer, or that's what he called himself. Mostly he flipped houses when he could get the financing. "Mom, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, sitting across from me. I explained the situation. The mortgage. The bills. The math that didn't add up. Derek leaned back in his chair, that calculating look on his face. "You could sell. Downsize to a condo." "I don't want to sell," I said. "This is my home." "Then you need to figure something out," he said with a shrug. "Can't you get a job?" "I'm 68, Derek. Who's going to hire me?" Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. "Mom, don't worry about it. You'll come live with us." I looked at her. "What?" "We have that guest house in the backyard. It's just sitting empty. You can live there. It's perfect." "Sarah, I can't impose." "You're not imposing. Your family. Right, Derek?" Derek's jaw was tight, but he nodded. "Right, family." I moved in 2 weeks later. The guest house was small, but comfortable. Bedroom, bathroom, tiny kitchenette. My own space. I sold the main house, paid off the mortgage, and put the rest in savings. Not much, but enough for emergencies. "This is temporary," I told Sarah. "Just until I figure things out. Stay as long as you want." "Mom, this is your home now." I believed her. Living in Sarah's guest house wasn't charity. I earned my keep. Every morning, I walked to the main house and made breakfast for Sarah's 3 kids, Lily, who was 8, Noah, who was 6, and Sophie, who was 3. I packed their lunches. I drove them to school when Sarah was busy. During the day, I cleaned the house, did laundry, grocery shopping, meal prep. When the kids came home, I helped with homework, played with them in the yard, gave them baths while Sarah made dinner. "Mom, you don't have to do all this," Sarah said one afternoon, finding me folding laundry in her living room. "I want to help. You do so much." "I know, but you're not our maid. I'm not sitting idle while you run yourself ragged." "I'm happy to help," and I was. The kids filled a void that James's death had left. Lily would tell me about her day at school, every detail, talking a mile a minute. Noah would bring me his toy cars, and we'd build elaborate roads through the house. Sophie would climb into my lap and fall asleep while I read to her. Derek was gone most days, working on his property deals. When he was home, he was pleasant enough. Never warm, but not rude. That first year passed easily. I noticed the change in Derek around November 2023. He started coming home earlier, spending more time in his home office. He was on the phone a lot, his voice tense through the closed door. One evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner with Sarah when Derek came in and opened the refrigerator. "We need to talk about grocery costs," he said, not looking at us. "They're way too high." Sarah glanced at me, then back at Derek. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're spending $800 a month on food. That's ridiculous. We have 5 people eating here, Derek. 6 when Mom joins us for dinner." He looked at me then. "Right, 6 people." The way he said it made something cold settle in my stomach. "I buy my own groceries," I said quietly. "I keep them in my kitchenette, but you eat here most nights." "Derek," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "My mother is not a burden." I didn't say she was. "I'm just saying we need to be realistic about costs." He left the kitchen. Sarah looked at me, her eyes apologetic. Ignore him. He's stressed about work, but I couldn't ignore it. Because it wasn't the last comment. A week later, Derek mentioned that the electric bill had gone up. Emma probably runs her heat all day in the guest house. It's winter, Derek, Sarah said. Of course she runs the heat. I'm just saying, it's an added expense. Another week. Do we really need to pay for that much hot water? And another. The property taxes are brutal with that guest house assessed as livable space. Each comment was small. Each one could be explained away as stress or practical concern. But they added up. They created an atmosphere where I felt like I was being tolerated instead of welcomed. I started eating dinner in my guest house more often. Started declining invitations to family movie nights. Started making myself smaller, quieter, less present. The kids noticed. Grandma, why don't you eat with us anymore? Lily asked one evening. I have a headache, sweetheart, but I'll see you tomorrow. Sarah noticed too. Mom, are you okay? You seem distant. I'm fine, honey. Just tired, but I wasn't fine. I felt like I was walking on eggshells in a home that was supposed to be mine. Derek's business was failing. I didn't know the details, but I could hear him on the phone in his office, his voice getting more desperate each week. I need another month. I can get the investors. Just give me more time. Sarah was worried. I could see it in the way she bit her nails, the way she stared at bills at the kitchen table when she thought no one was watching. Is everything okay? I asked her one morning. It's fine, Mom. Just some cash flow issues. Derek says it'll work itself out. But it didn't work itself out. One evening in late January, I was in the guest house when I heard shouting from the main house. Derek and Sarah, their voices carrying through the cold air. We can't afford this. What do you want me to do? I need that space for a home office. I'm losing deals because I don't have a professional setup. So we'll convert the garage. The guest house is better, bigger, already set up with utilities. Silence. Then Sarah's voice, quieter. Derek, my mother lives there. Then she needs to find somewhere else to live. My hands were shaking. I sat down on my bed, my heart pounding. The next morning, Derek knocked on my door. He didn't wait for me to answer, just opened it and walked in. Sarah stood behind him, her face pale. Emma, we need to talk, Derek said. I stood up from the small table where I'd been drinking coffee. About what? About your living arrangement here. Derek, Sarah started, but he held up his hand. This isn't working anymore, Emma. We need this space. I need a proper office, and we can't afford to rent one downtown. I contribute, I said. I help with the kids, the house. That's not the same as paying rent. I never agreed to pay rent. Sarah said I could live here. Things change. Look, I'm not a bad guy here. I'm giving you options. You can get a job and start paying rent. Fundawan $200 a month, market rate. Or you can move into an assisted living facility. There are nice ones nearby. My voice came out strangled. I'm 68 years old, Derek. I'm not disabled. I don't need assisted living. Then get a job. Who's going to hire a 68-year-old woman? He shrugged. Not my problem. You have 30 days to decide. He walked out. Sarah stood in the doorway, tears running down her face. Mom, I'm sorry. I tried to talk to him. Did you? I asked. Because it sounded like you just stood there. Again. It's complicated. No, Sarah, it's not. You're either on my side or you're not. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. Then she turned and followed Derek back to the main house. I sat down on my bed and cried for the first time since James died. I tried. God knows I tried. I updated my resume, though it was hard to know what to include. Marketing Director, 1982-2020. Retired for 4 years. Gap in employment. How do you explain that you're not looking for work because you're passionate about a career, but because your son-in-law is kicking you out? I applied online to 47 jobs in 2 weeks. Marketing Coordinator, Administrative Assistant, Customer Service Representative, Retail Associate. I wasn't proud. I'd take anything. I got 3 responses. The first was an automated rejection within an hour of applying. The second was an email. While your experience is impressive, we're looking for someone at an earlier stage of their career. Translation: you're too old. The third was an actual interview, a marketing position at a small firm. I dressed carefully, arrived early, smiled professionally. The interviewer was a man in his 30s. Wow, you have extensive experience, he said, looking at my resume. Thank you. I worked in the field for nearly 40 years. That's a long time. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Can I ask, are you comfortable with social media marketing? TikTok, Instagram, that kind of thing? I'm willing to learn whatever platform you need. It's just that we move fast here. Lots of late nights, tight deadlines. I'm not sure. He trailed off. You're not sure someone my age can keep up? He shifted uncomfortably. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I didn't get the job. By the end of February, I'd applied to 73 positions. I'd had 5 interviews, 0 offers. Meanwhile, Derek reminded me weekly, 3 weeks left, 2 weeks left, 1 week left. Sarah avoided me. Couldn't look me in the eye. The kids asked why I seemed sad. I told them Grandma was just tired. I found a studio apartment in a building full of other seniors. $900 a month, which ate up most of my pension. It was 400 square feet, kitchen, bathroom, and a room that served as bedroom and living room combined. The day I moved, Sarah cried. Mom, I'm so sorry. This isn't what I wanted. Then why didn't you stop it? I tried. No, you didn't. You stood there. You let him do this. That's a choice, Sarah. Derek didn't help me move. He was in the guest house already, setting up his office. I could see him through the window, arranging his desk where my bed had been. The kids helped me carry boxes to my car. Lily was crying. Noah kept asking when I'd come back. Sophie didn't understand what was happening. I'll see you soon, I promised them. Grandma's not going far, but Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. And I knew whatever relationship we'd had was broken, maybe beyond repair. I drove to my studio apartment, unloaded my boxes, and sat on the air mattress I'd bought because my old bed wouldn't fit. The walls were thin. I could hear my neighbor's TV through the wall, a game show with canned laughter. This was my life now, 68 years old, living in a studio apartment. No family, no job, no purpose. I cried myself to sleep that night. Depression is exhausting. I spent 2 weeks barely getting out of bed. I ate cereal for every meal because I couldn't summon the energy to cook. I watched TV without seeing it. I existed, but I wasn't living. Then one morning, I woke up angry. I was angry at Derek for being cruel, angry at Sarah for being weak, angry at myself for giving up. I sat up in my air mattress bed and thought, what can I actually do? The job search wasn't working. I was too old for traditional employment. That was reality, but I wasn't too old to work. I wasn't too old to think. I wasn't too old to use 40 years of marketing experience. I just needed to work for myself. I grabbed my laptop and started researching. What did I know? Marketing, specifically small business marketing, making companies visible to their local communities, building customer bases, creating loyalty. Who needed that? Small businesses, local shops, restaurants, services, the kind of places that couldn't afford big marketing agencies charging $5,000 a month. What if I offered the same services for a fraction of the cost? I spent the next week building a business plan. Not fancy, just a simple document outlining what I'd offer, how much I'd charge, and who I'd target. Services, social media management, local advertising, customer retention programs, email marketing, pricing, $500 to $2,000 per month, depending on the package. Target, local businesses within 20 miles. I called it Grow Local. Simple, clear, exactly what it did. I had $8,000 left in my savings. I spent $200 on a basic website, another $100 on business cards. The rest I kept for living expenses while I built the business. Then I started knocking on doors. Mrs. Rodriguez owned a bakery 3 blocks from my apartment. I'd been buying bread there for weeks, watching her work. She made everything herself, bread, pastries, cakes. The place smelled like heaven, but it was always empty. Maybe 3 customers when I went in. For a bakery that good, it should have been packed. One morning, I brought my laptop and sat at one of her small tables with a coffee. Mrs. Rodriguez, can I ask you something? She looked up from kneading dough, her hands white with flour. Of course, dear. Do you advertise? She laughed. I don't know how. I'm a baker, not a marketing person. What if I could help you? Get more customers in here. I can't afford a fancy agency. I'm not a fancy agency. I'm just someone with experience who wants to help local businesses. First month is free. If you don't see results, you don't owe me anything. If you do see results, we talk about a fair price. She studied me for a long moment. Why would you work for free? Because I believe in what I'm doing. And I need to prove it works. She wiped her hands on her apron. Okay, what do we do? I spent that afternoon taking photos of her bakery, her products, her kitchen. I created a Facebook page, an Instagram account. I posted photos with descriptions that made people hungry. I set up a Google business profile. I created a simple email list for a weekly newsletter. Then I did something old school. I designed flyers and hung them in the neighborhood. Best bread in the city, and you're walking past it. Come see why locals love Rodriguez Bakery. Within a week, foot traffic increased. Not a lot, but noticeable. 2 weeks, the morning rush was real. By the end of the month, Mrs. Rodriguez had a line out the door on weekend mornings. "Emma, what did you do?" she asked, laughing as she boxed up pastries for customers. "I told people you exist. That's all marketing is. How much do I owe you?" $500 a month. I'll keep your social media updated, send out newsletters, adjust the strategy as we go. 500? That's nothing for what you've done. It's enough. And I need you to tell other business owners about me. She did. Within 2 weeks, I had 3 more clients. A hardware store, a coffee shop, a dry cleaner. By the end of May, I had 8 clients. That was $4,500 a month in revenue. After expenses, I was making more than I'd made from my pension. I moved off the air mattress and bought a real bed. Word spread. Small business owners talk to each other. They share what works. When one bakery starts thriving, the restaurant next door wants to know why. By June, I had 15 clients. I was working from my laptop at my tiny kitchen table, but I was working, really working. For the first time since James died, I felt purposeful. I had to turn down clients. I couldn't manage more than 15 businesses alone. So I did something I'd never done before. I hired help. Maya Chen was 26 years old, fresh out of college with a marketing degree and no experience. She'd applied to 100 jobs and gotten nowhere. "Why should I hire you?" I asked her at a coffee shop interview. "Because I'm hungry. I need this. And I'll work harder than anyone you interview." I liked her honesty. "I can't pay you what a big agency would. I don't need big agency money. I need experience and a boss who'll actually teach me." I hired her on the spot. Maya handled the social media, the content creation, the day-to-day management. I handled strategy, client relations, and teaching her everything I'd learned in 40 years. We took on 10 more clients. Revenue jumped to $15,000 a month. In July, I rented a small office space. 2 desks, a window, a coffee maker. I put "Grow Local Marketing" on the door in simple letters. I was 68 years old and I'd started a real business. I hadn't spoken to Sarah in 5 months. She'd texted a few times in the beginning. "Mom, how are you?" "Mom, the kids miss you." "Mom, can we talk?" I responded with short answers. "I'm fine. Tell them I love them." "Not yet." Then the texts stopped. I missed my grandchildren desperately. But I couldn't go back to that house. Couldn't pretend everything was okay. Sarah had made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Maya asked once, "Do you have family?" "A daughter." "We don't talk." "I'm sorry." "Me too." I poured myself into work instead. It was easier than feeling the whole Sarah's absence left. By September, we had 45 clients. I hired another person, Marcus, a 30-year-old who'd been laid off from a corporate marketing job and wanted something more meaningful. Revenue was approaching $40,000 a month. After payroll, expenses, and taxes, I was taking home about $15,000 monthly. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, but it had a real kitchen and a separate bedroom. I bought furniture, hung pictures, made it feel like home. One evening, Maya asked, "Emma, why do you still come in every day? You could work from home. Take it easy." Because I spent 2 months in bed feeling worthless. "I'm never doing that again," she nodded. Didn't ask more questions. It was a Tuesday morning, 6 months after Derek kicked me out. I was at my desk in the office, reviewing a campaign for a new restaurant client. The door opened. I looked up, expecting a walk-in inquiry. It was Derek and Sarah. They stood in the doorway, and I watched their faces change as they recognized me. Shock, confusion, something that might have been fear. "Mom?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I sat back in my chair, my heart pounding, but my face calm. "Can I help you?" Derek recovered first. He cleared his throat, tried to smile. It came out wrong, too wide, too desperate. "Emma, wow, this is your place?" I didn't answer immediately. Let the silence stretch. Let them stand there uncomfortable, the way I'd stood in their doorway 6 months ago, with my life packed in boxes. It's my office, I said finally. Did you need something? Sarah was staring at me like she'd seen a ghost. Her eyes moved around the room. The desk, the computer, the filing cabinets, the framed photos of client businesses on the wall. The sign outside that said Grow Local Marketing. You started a business? Her voice cracked. Yes. But when did you? 6 months ago, right after I moved into my studio apartment. You remember, the one I moved to because I was too old to work and too young for a nursing home. I kept my voice pleasant, professional. Like they were strangers, Derek's jaw tightened. He looked around the office again, calculating. I could see him doing the math, trying to figure out how much money a place like this represented. That's amazing, Emma, he said, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. Really? Good for you. We actually came here because we heard about your services. We need help with... Why don't you sit down? I interrupted, gesturing to the chairs across from my desk. The same kind of chairs where my clients sat. Where people came when they needed help. They sat. Derek tried to look confident, casual. Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear. So, I said, folding my hands on my desk. You need marketing help? Yeah, Derek said. My business, Williams Property Development, we're looking to expand our reach. Get more investors, more clients. I heard Grow Local is the best in the area. From who? What? Who told you we're the best? He shifted in his seat. Around, people talk. Small business owners, I nodded slowly. The same small business owners whose services you probably can't afford anymore? His face flushed red. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know exactly why you're here, Derek, and it's not because you heard we're good at marketing. Sarah spoke for the first time since sitting down. Mom, please, don't call me that, not here. In this office, I'm Emma, and you're potential clients. So let's be clear about what you want. Derek leaned forward, dropped the friendly act. Fine, you want straight talk? We're in trouble. My business is failing. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. We might lose the house. Sarah heard about your company from someone at the kids' school. We came here because we need help, and we're hoping you'll help us because we're family. Family. I let the word hang there. That's interesting. Because 6 months ago, family meant I got to live in a guest house and help with your children. Then family meant I had 30 days to find a job or go to a nursing home. Now family means you need something from me. So which definition are we using today? Emma, Derek started. My consulting rate is $5,000 a month, I said. That's for comprehensive marketing services, social media management, local advertising, investor outreach, brand development. The contract is 6 months minimum. That's $30,000. Can you afford that? The number hit him like a physical blow. That's insane. We can't afford that. Then I can't help you. You're charging us that much out of spite. I'm charging you exactly what I charge everyone who wants that level of service. But you're right, it's probably too much for you. Most of my clients pay between $500 and $2,000 a month because that's what small businesses can afford. But you don't want small business services, do you, Derek? You want investor outreach. You want high-level marketing. That costs $5,000 a month. Sarah was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. Mom, please. We're desperate. So was I. 6 months ago, I was desperate. I applied to 73 jobs. Do you know how many interviews I got? 5. Do you know how many times I was told I was too old, too overqualified, too expensive? Every single one. That's not my fault. You're right. It's not. But you didn't help, did you? You stood there silent while your husband kicked out your mother. Your mother who'd lost her home, her husband, everything, and was trying to help you. I made breakfast for your children every morning. I drove them to school. I cleaned your house. And when Derek decided I was a burden, you said nothing. I was scared. Of what? Of him? Of losing your comfortable life? Well, now you're losing it anyway. The difference is I'm not. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street below where people were going about their normal day. When I turned back, my voice was calmer. Here's what I'll offer you. Not because you deserve it, but because, despite everything, you're still my daughter. I'll help Sarah. Not Derek, not the business. Sarah, specifically. Derek stood up. That's not... Sit down. I'm not finished. He sat. Sarah, I will teach you marketing. I will teach you how to build a business, how to find clients, how to make money on your own. Not for Derek's failing company. For you. Your own business. Your own income. Your own independence. Sarah looked at Derek, then back at me. I don't know how to run a business. You didn't know how to be a mother until you were 1. You learn. I'll teach you everything I know, but here's the condition. You do this separate from Derek. Your business, your clients, your money. He doesn't touch it. He doesn't control it. You build something that's yours. Sarah, this is ridiculous, Derek started. And you, I said, looking at him directly for the first time. You want my help? You apologize, publicly, in writing. You write a letter admitting exactly what you did and why it was wrong. You post it where people can see it, Facebook, wherever. You own what you did to me. His face went purple. I'm not doing that. Then we're done here. I sat back down at my desk, picked up a pen. I have work to do. You can show yourselves out. You're seriously going to let us lose everything? Derek's voice was rising. After everything we gave you? Everything you gave me? I looked up sharply. You gave me a room I'd already paid for with years of free childcare and housework. Then you took it away the second it was inconvenient. You gave me nothing, Derek. And now you're getting exactly what you deserve, nothing. He stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. You're a bitter old woman. I'm a woman who knows her worth. Something you never learned. Now get out of my office. Sarah stood up slowly. She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Mom, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough, Sarah. Sorry is what you say when you make a mistake. You made a choice. Choices have consequences. Derek grabbed Sarah's arm. Come on, we'll find help somewhere else. They left. The door closed behind them. I sat there for a long moment, my hands shaking. Then I put my head down on my desk and took 3 deep breaths. Maya appeared in the doorway. Are you okay? I heard shouting. I'm fine. Was that really your daughter? Yes. Do you want to talk about it? No. I want to work. We have 3 client meetings this afternoon. She nodded, didn't push. That was one of the things I liked about Maya. She knew when to leave things alone. 2 weeks later, Sarah called me on a Tuesday evening. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mom? What do you want, Sarah? I've been thinking about what you said, about building my own business. I sat down on my couch, muted the TV. And? I want to do it. I want to learn. But I don't know where to start. Start by telling me what you're good at. Silence for a moment. I don't know. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. Before that I worked in event planning, but that was so long ago. Event planning, that's good. People need that. Parties, corporate events, weddings. I haven't done it in a decade, Mom. So? You think I'd done marketing for a 68-year-old starting a business from a studio apartment? You figure it out. The question is, do you actually want this, or are you just desperate? Both. I want it and I'm desperate. Derek's business is, it's really bad, Mom. We might lose the house. I'm terrified. Then terror is good motivation. Here's what you're going to do. Tomorrow morning, you're going to come to my office. 9 a.m., bring a notebook. I'm going to teach you how to build a business plan. After that, you're on your own to execute it. I'll advise, but I won't do it for you. Understood? Yes. Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be hard work. And Sarah? Derek can't be part of this. This is yours. The second he tries to take control or use your business to fund his, I'm out. Are we clear? Yes, crystal clear. AM. Don't be late. The next 3 months, teaching Sarah was like watching someone wake up from a long sleep. That first morning, she sat across from me at my desk with a notebook and pen, looking terrified and determined at the same time. What do you want your business to be? I asked. Event planning. Small events. Kids' parties, baby showers, small weddings. Things I can manage from home while the kids are in school. Good. Specific. Now, who's your client? What do you mean? Who are you serving? Busy parents? Young couples? Corporate clients? You can't market to everyone, so pick a group. She thought for a moment. Busy parents. People like me who don't have time to plan their kid's birthday party, but want it to be special. Perfect. Now we build around that. We spent 3 hours that day building her business plan. Services offered, pricing structure, target market, how to find clients. What made her different from other planners? You're not selling event planning, I told her. You're selling peace of mind. You're telling exhausted parents, you don't have to do this alone. I'll handle it. That's what you're really offering. She named her business Seamless Events. Simple, clear, exactly what she promised. I helped her build a basic website, taught her how to take good photos, showed her how to use social media to showcase her work. But I don't have any work to showcase yet, she said. Then create it. Throw a party for your kids. Make it amazing. Photograph everything. That's your portfolio. She did. She threw Sophie a 4th birthday party that looked like it came out of a magazine. Photographed every detail. Posted it online with the caption, "Every child deserves a magical birthday. Let me create yours. DM for rates." She got 3 inquiries in the first week. By the end of the first month, she'd booked 5 parties. Small ones, but they paid. She charged $300, $500 per party, depending on what the client wanted. By the end of the second month, she'd done 12 parties and 2 baby showers. She was making about $4,000 a month. Not enough to save the house, but enough that she wasn't completely dependent on Derek. By the end of the 3rd month, she had a waiting list. She raised her prices to $600, $800 per event. She was making $7,000 a month, and something else changed. Sarah changed. She stood differently, talked differently. When she came to our weekly meetings, she looked me in the eye. She had opinions, ideas, confidence. "I never knew I could do this," she said one afternoon, sitting in my office after showing me photos from a wedding shower she'd organized. "You always could. You just never had to. Derek hates it. I imagine he does. He keeps asking to borrow money from my business account. For the mortgage, for his debts." I told him no. I looked at her sharply. "Good." He got angry, said I was being selfish, that we're a family and my money should help the family. "And what did you say?" "I said my business is separate. If he wants to save the house, he needs to figure out his own business, not rely on mine." She paused. "He didn't like that." "I'm sure he didn't. Mom, I think I'm going to leave him." The words hung in the air between us. I set down the photos I'd been looking at. "That's a big decision." "I know, but I finally see what you saw. He's controlling. He makes me small. And now that I have my own money, my own business, I don't need him anymore. I don't want to be married to someone who makes me feel worthless." "What about the kids?" "They'll be okay. Better, probably. They see how he treats me. That's not what I want them to think marriage looks like." I reached across the desk and squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for." I learned from the best. It was a Thursday afternoon when Sarah called me, her voice shaking. "Mom, can you come over? Like right now?" "What's wrong?" "Just, please come." I drove to the house I used to live in, the house where Derek had kicked me out. I hadn't been back since moving day. Sarah met me at the door. Her eyes were red from crying, but she looked determined. I told him I want a divorce. "Just now?" "An hour ago. He's in his office. Won't come out." "Mom, I'm scared, but I'm relieved." I pulled her into a hug. She clung to me like she used to as a child. "Where are the kids?" "At school. I wanted to tell him when they weren't home." "Smart. What did he say?" "He said I'm making a mistake. That I'll regret it. That I can't survive without him." She pulled back, wiped her eyes. "But that's not true anymore. I can survive. I am surviving. Because of you." "No, because of you. I just showed you the door. You walked through it." We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd made breakfast for her kids every morning. Where I'd felt like family before I felt like a burden. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Can you help me find a divorce lawyer?" "I know someone. I'll text you her information. And Mom? Can the kids and I stay with you? Just until I figure out where we're going to live?" I thought about my 1-bedroom apartment, thought about how small it was, how there wasn't room for 4 people. Then I thought about how Sarah had finally found her voice, how she was choosing herself for the first time. "Yes, we'll figure it out. It'll be tight, but we'll make it work." She started crying again. "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're my daughter. I was angry, but I never stopped loving you." Derek's office door opened. He came out, his face red, his eyes wild. "This is your fault," he said, pointing at me. "You poisoned her against me. I taught her she had value. If that poisoned her against you, that's on you, not me. She was happy before you started filling her head with this feminist bullshit." She was quiet. That's not the same as happy. We're not getting divorced, he said, looking at Sarah. You're confused. You're having some kind of breakdown. You'll see reason. Sarah stood up. Her voice was steady. No, Derek, I'm seeing clearly for the first time in years. I'm done being small so you can feel big. I'm done apologizing for existing. We're getting divorced. You'll get nothing in the divorce. That business you built? Community property. I get half, she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. Actually, no. I set it up as a sole proprietorship before we separated. And we've been living separate financial lives for 4 months. I have bank statements proving it. My lawyer says I have a good case for keeping my business separate from marital assets. But you go ahead and try. I'm not afraid of you anymore. His face went white, then red, then white again. I stood up. Sarah, get some clothes for you and the kids. We're leaving now. You can't just, Derek started. We can and we are. If you try to stop us, I'll call the police. Your choice. He didn't move. Just stood there, watching as Sarah went upstairs and packed bags for herself and the children. Watching as we carried them to my car. Watching as we drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing in the doorway of the house he was about to lose. Looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Sarah and the kids had been living with me for 2 months when we found them an apartment. 2 bedrooms close to the kids' school. She could afford it now with her business income. The divorce was moving forward. Slowly but forward, her business was thriving. She'd hired an assistant, a young woman who helped with setup and breakdown of events. She was booking weddings now, not just kids' parties. Charging $3,000, $5,000 per event. She made $15,000 in her best month. My business was growing too. We had 60 clients now. I'd hired 2 more people. We'd moved to a bigger office with 4 desks and a small conference room. One evening, I was at my desk late when Sarah called. Mom, are you sitting down? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something's right. Really right. Derek's company officially declared bankruptcy today. I sat back in my chair. And the house is being foreclosed on. He has to move out next month. He called me crying, begging me to come back. Said he'd made mistakes, he'd change, he needed me. What did you say? I said no. I told him I hope he figures his life out, but I'm not his solution anymore. I'm not anyone's solution but my own. I'm proud of you, Sarah. I learned from the best. Oh, and Mom? One more thing. What? Derek asked if I knew anyone who could help him with marketing. To rebuild his reputation, find new clients. I told him I knew someone. Then I gave him your business card, I laughed. Actually laughed. You didn't, I did. I said, my mother runs the best marketing company in the area. Her rates are very reasonable. Well, for most people. For you, I'm sure she'd offer a special family rate. What did he say? He threw the card away. But Mom, the look on his face was worth everything. After we hung up, I sat in my quiet office and thought about how much had changed in 6 months. 6 months ago, I'd been kicked out, told I was too old, too useless, too much of a burden. Now I had a business with 60 clients and 4 employees. I had my daughter back, stronger and more independent than ever. I had my grandchildren in my life again. They visited every weekend, and Lily had started telling people my grandma is a CEO. Derek had nothing. His business was bankrupt. His house was gone. His wife had left him, and the woman he'd thrown away had built an empire from a studio apartment. Sometimes I thought about calling him, offering to help rebuild his reputation, his business, his life. I could do it. I had the skills, the connections. But then I remembered standing in that guest house, hearing him tell me to find a job or go to a home. I remembered Sarah's silence. I remembered crying myself to sleep on an air mattress at 68 years old, feeling worthless. And I decided, some people don't deserve second chances. Some people deserve to learn what it's like to have nothing. Derek Williams was learning that lesson now, and I was fine with that. 1 year later, I woke up on a Tuesday morning in my new apartment. Not the studio, not the 1-bedroom, but a real 2-bedroom place with a view of the park. Sunlight streamed through the windows. I made coffee in my actual kitchen with counter space, not a kitchenette crammed into a corner. My phone buzzed with morning messages. Maya sending the day's client schedule. Marcus asking about a campaign strategy. Sarah texting a photo of Sophie holding a certificate from school. With the caption, she told her class her grandma is a business owner and now she wants to be one too. I smiled, sipped my coffee, and got ready for work. The office had changed. We'd moved again 3 months ago. Bigger space, 6 desks, a real conference room with a glass door, and a reception area where clients waited in comfortable chairs instead of standing awkwardly by the entrance. The sign outside now read, "Grow Local Marketing, Helping Small Businesses Thrive Since Last Year." Maya had wanted to put the founding date, but I'd told her last year was enough. I didn't need people calculating my age from the timeline. I arrived at 8:30, earlier than necessary, but old habits stayed strong. The office was quiet. I liked these early moments before everyone arrived, before phones started ringing and meetings began. I made a second coffee, sat at my desk, and reviewed the week's numbers. 83 clients now. 83 small businesses that trusted us with their marketing. Coffee shops, restaurants, bookstores, gyms, medical offices, salons, pet groomers, landscapers, the kind of businesses that made a community feel alive. Revenue for the month was tracking at $68,000. After payroll, expenses, and taxes, I was taking home about $22,000 monthly. More money than I'd ever made in my life, including my 40 years in corporate marketing. I'd bought a car. Nothing fancy, but mine. Paid in cash. I'd started a savings account again. I'd taken Sarah and the kids to the beach last month, rented a house for a week. We built sandcastles and ate ice cream, and the kids buried me in sand while Sarah laughed so hard she cried. Marcus arrived at 9, then Maya, then the others. The office filled with the sound of keyboards clicking, phone calls, the coffee maker gurgling as it brewed another pot. At 10, I had a meeting with a new potential client. A woman in her 50s who just opened a boutique after her divorce. She sat across from my desk, nervous, twisting her wedding ring, or where her wedding ring used to be. The tan line was still visible. "I don't know if I can afford marketing," she said. "Money's tight after the divorce." I thought about sitting in this same chair a year ago, not as the person behind the desk, but as someone who'd felt exactly what she was feeling now. "Tell me about your boutique." She did. Talked about how she'd always loved fashion, how her ex-husband had called it a hobby, how she'd taken the divorce settlement and opened the store anyway, how it was doing okay but not great, how she needed help but didn't know where to start. I listened, really listened. Then I told her about my packages, $800 a month for comprehensive social media management, local advertising, and strategy sessions. She winced at the number. "I know it sounds like a lot," I said. "But here's what I know. You didn't leave your marriage and start a business just to watch it fail. You did it because you believed in yourself. Let me help you show other people what you already know, that you're worth paying attention to." She signed the contract. After she left, Maya poked her head into my office. "You're really good at that." "At what?" "Making people believe they can succeed. Most marketing companies sell results. You sell hope." I thought about that after she left. Maybe she was right. Maybe that's what I'd learned this past year. That hope was something you built yourself, one small decision at a time. One client, one success, one morning of getting out of bed when you wanted to stay under the covers. I met Sarah at a cafe halfway between my office and her apartment. She'd wanted to talk about something, wouldn't say what over the phone. She looked good, healthy. Her hair was different, shorter, more styled. She wore clothes that fit properly instead of the baggy sweaters she'd hidden in when she was married to Derek. Most importantly, she looked me in the eye when she talked. "I have news," she said after we ordered. "Good or bad?" "Good, really good. I got approached by a wedding venue. They want to partner with me. I'd be their preferred event planner. They'd recommend me to every couple who books their space. In exchange, I'd give them a small percentage of my fee." "That's fantastic. I know. But it's also scary. It means I'd need to hire another assistant, maybe 2, scale up the business significantly. I'd be doing 10 to 15 weddings a month instead of 5. And that scares you because?" She stirred her coffee, thinking. "Because what if I fail? What if I scale up and then it all falls apart and I can't pay my assistants and I'm worse off than before?" I looked at my daughter, the woman who'd stood silent while her husband kicked me out, who'd been too afraid to speak up, who'd hidden behind someone else's decisions for so long she'd forgotten she could make her own. Sarah, a year ago, you didn't think you could plan a single party. Now you're worried about planning too many. That's not a problem. That's proof you've already succeeded. She smiled, nodded. You're right. I'm going to do it. We ate lunch, talked. About the kids, about her divorce being finalized next month, about how Lily wanted to learn about marketing and Noah wanted to open a lemonade stand. Before we left, Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She didn't say anything, didn't need to. Everything that needed to be said was in that gesture. Back at the office, I spent 2 hours on a video call with a restaurant owner whose business we'd been working with for 6 months. She'd gone from barely making rent to having a waiting list on weekends. She cried on the call, thanked me over and over. After she hung up, I sat there for a moment. This was the part of the work that made everything else worth it. Not the money. The knowledge that I'd helped someone else succeed. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emma Harrison. Professional, crisp, heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice I recognized. Emma, it's Derek. I should have hung up. Should have blocked the number. Instead, I waited. I know you probably don't want to talk to me. I don't blame you. But I need to tell you something. More silence. I didn't help him fill it. I lost everything. The business. The house. I'm living with my brother now, sleeping on his couch. I haven't seen my kids in 2 months because I can't afford a lawyer for custody. I'm working at a hardware store making $12 an hour. He paused. I still didn't speak. I was wrong. About everything. About you. About how I treated you. I convinced myself you were a burden. That you weren't contributing. That we were doing you a favor. But the truth is, you held that family together. You made everything work. And I threw you away the second it was convenient. Why are you telling me this? My voice came out colder than I'd intended. Because I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. And because I need to know. Do you think there's any way Sarah would take me back? If I changed? If I got my act together? I laughed. Not a kind laugh. You think that's how this works? You apologize and everything goes back to how it was? No, Sarah doesn't need you anymore. She built a life without you. A good life. She's successful and happy and strong. Everything she is now, she became after you were gone. You didn't build her up. You held her down. I know. I see that now. You see it now because you lost. If your business had succeeded, if you'd kept the house, you'd still be treating people like they only mattered if they were useful to you. You're not sorry. You're just alone. He didn't respond for a long moment. Then quietly, you're right. I'm alone, and I deserve it. Yes, you do. I hung up. Blocked the number. Sat there staring at my phone. Maya appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Just taking out the trash. I picked up the kids from Sarah's apartment at 6. Tuesdays were grandmother-grandkid nights. I'd take them for dinner and homework help, give Sarah a few hours to herself. They piled into my car, talking over each other, full of energy and stories from school. Lily showed me a test she'd gotten an A on. Noah demonstrated a magic trick he'd learned. Sophie sang a song about colors that made no sense, but was enthusiastic. We went to a pizza place. Nothing fancy, just the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and a jukebox in the corner. The kids ordered their usual. We sat in a booth by the window. Grandma? At school today, we had to write about someone we admire, Lily said, carefully picking pepperoni off her pizza slice and eating them one at a time. Who did you write about? You. Something in my chest tightened. Me? Why? Because you started a business when you were old and everyone said you couldn't. I'm not that old, I said, but I was smiling. You're pretty old, Grandma, Noah said seriously. But you're also cool. Mom says you're the strongest person she knows. I looked at these 3 kids, Derek's kids, the children I'd made breakfast for every morning when I lived in that guest house, who I'd read to and played with and loved even when their father made me feel small. They didn't know the whole story. Didn't know about the eviction, the desperation, the crying myself to sleep in a studio apartment. They just knew their grandma had a business and their mom was proud of me, and everything was good now. Sometimes that's all that mattered. Not the whole story, just the part where things got better. 3 weeks later, I was at my desk when Maya and Marcus walked in together, looking nervous. We need to talk to you about something, Maya said. My stomach dropped. They were quitting. They'd found better jobs. I'd have to start over with training someone new. Okay. We've been thinking, Marcus said. The business has grown a lot. We have 80+ clients now. We're turning people away because we're at capacity. Right. So we think it's time to expand. Hire 2 more people. Maybe 3. Move to an even bigger office. Really scale this up. I stared at them. You want to grow? We want to grow, Maya said. But more than that, we want you to know how much we believe in this company. In what you built? We love working here. We love what we do. And we think Grow Local could be even bigger. Marcus pulled out a folder. We put together some projections. If we hire 3 more people, we could take on 120 clients. Revenue could hit $90,000 a month. Obviously, expenses would increase with more salaries, but net profit would still be significantly higher. I took the folder, flipped through it. They'd done real work here: spreadsheets, projections, hiring timelines, office space comparisons. You did all this on your own time? We believe in this company, Maya said. We want to see it succeed. And honestly, Emma, we've learned more from you in the past year than we learned in 4 years of college. We want to keep learning. I looked at these 2 young people who'd taken a chance on working for a 68-year-old woman running a startup from a tiny office, who'd stayed when they could have gone to bigger agencies with better perks, who'd believed in what we were building. Okay, I said. Let's do it. The expansion worked. We hired 3 more people, moved to an office with 8 desks and a proper conference room and a small kitchen area. We hit 115 clients. Sarah's business exploded too. The venue partnership meant she was doing 12 to 15 weddings a month. She'd hired 3 assistants and was considering opening an actual office instead of working from her apartment. One Saturday afternoon, she called me sounding different, excited. Mom, can you come over? I have something to show you. I drove to her apartment. She met me at the door with an envelope. What is this? Open it. Inside was a check. Made out to me. For $50,000, I looked up at her, confused. What is this? It's what I owe you. For everything. For teaching me. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. For not giving up on me even when I gave up on you. Sarah, I can't accept this. Yes, you can. You spent a year helping me build my business. Advising me for free. Teaching me everything you knew. This isn't charity. This is payment for services rendered. Plus interest. I tried to hand the check back. She pushed it toward me. Mom, you changed my life. You showed me I could be more than someone's wife, someone's mother. I could be myself. That's worth more than $50,000, but it's all I can afford right now. She smiled. Consider it an investment, because someday, when my business is as successful as yours, I'm going to pay you even more. I pulled her into a hug. We stood there in her doorway, holding each other the way we used to when she was small and scared and needed her mother. I'm so proud of you, I whispered. I learned from the best. I stood in front of a room full of people at the local Chamber of Commerce. They'd asked me to speak about entrepreneurship at their monthly meeting. The room was packed. Business owners, startup founders, people thinking about starting something new. They looked at me, a 70-year-old woman in a business suit, with curiosity. I started talking. Told them about being 68 and widowed and losing my home. About living with my daughter and being told to find a job or go to a nursing home. About applying to 73 jobs and getting rejected from everyone. About starting Grow Local from a studio apartment with $8,000 in savings. I'm not going to lie and say it was easy, I said. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. There were mornings I didn't want to get out of bed. Days when I thought about giving up. Moments when I believed everyone who said I was too old, too washed up, too late. I paused, looked around the room. But here's what I learned. You're never too old to start over. You're never too broken to build something new. Age isn't a liability, it's an advantage. I had 40 years of experience that my younger competitors didn't have. I had patience, perspective. The knowledge that failure wasn't fatal because I'd already survived worse. After the speech, people lined up to talk to me, ask questions, share their own stories of starting over. An older man, probably in his 60s, shook my hand with tears in his eyes. I was laid off 6 months ago. Thought my career was over. Your story gives me hope. A younger woman told me she'd been afraid to start her business because she had kids to support. But if you could do it with nothing, I can do it with something. I talked to each of them. Gave advice where I could. Mostly just listened. That evening, back at my apartment, I made dinner and sat on my couch with the window open. Spring air drifted in, carrying the smell of flowers from the park. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it cautiously. "This is Derek. I know you blocked my other number. I won't bother you again after this. I just wanted you to know I heard you spoke at the Chamber of Commerce today. Someone showed me the video. You've built something incredible. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. But I understand if you can't." I stared at the message for a long time. Thought about responding. Thought about blocking this number too. Instead, I typed, "I don't forgive you. But I don't think about you anymore. I hope you figure out your life. But do it far away from mine." I hit send. Blocked the number. Deleted the message thread. Then I opened my photos and scrolled through recent pictures. The kids at the beach. Sarah laughing at her desk in her new office. My team at Grow Local celebrating hitting our revenue goal. Me cutting a ribbon at our office expansion ceremony. These were the people who mattered. This was the life I'd built. Not because someone believed in me, but because I'd believed in myself. 2 years ago, Derek Williams had stood in a doorway and told me to find a job or go to a nursing home. He'd thought I was useless, washed up, too old to matter. He'd been wrong about everything, and sitting in my apartment at 70 years old, running a business with 115 clients and 8 employees, teaching my daughter how to build her own empire. Surrounded by grandchildren who thought I was cool, I couldn't help but smile. Some people spend their whole lives afraid of getting old. Afraid of becoming irrelevant. Afraid of being forgotten. I'd learned something different. Getting old isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's just the beginning. If this story moved you, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps me continue sharing stories that uncover the hidden truths of everyday life. There are so many more untold stories waiting to be revealed. Thank you for being here. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were in their place? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share them with me in the comments below. On the screen, you can see 2 more life stories I strongly recommend. There are many more waiting on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.